Hey YouTube, what I decided to do was kind of like a day in the life of a nurse. Unfortunately, I can't take you with me anywhere for HIPAA violations, which basically means privacy of patients and others. But I figured I'd just kind of talk about nursing since I plan on having a nursing playlist and kind of introducing a few things I'm going to do with that. But to start off, I'll talk about what I do as a nurse. So basically, I have been a nurse for about, let's see, 5 years. It'll be 5 years in August that I would have been a nurse. I went to nursing school straight out of high school, and I graduated high school in 2005. I went to a university to start off and did all of my prerequisites, thought I was ready to go, and then found out when I went to apply for the nursing school that I was missing one of my credits. And one of those credits was Anatomy 1, which I had to have done in order to get into Anatomy 2, which I wasn't and had completed and passed. But basically, my advisor at the time, my nursing school advisor, had given me the wrong information and said one of the credits I had had previously would have transferred for that. That advisor was later fired, but unfortunately they said there was nothing I could do. I could either CLEP out, which was to take one big test and to CLEP out of that one class I needed, or I could delay and defer for a year, kind of pay to go to university for things I did not need, and then reapply for the next year. I decided not to after going to the dean, going to the president, doing everything I could to avoid doing all of this. But because of that, what I ended up doing was dropping out of school, and I enrolled into community college at that time. However, some personal things happened in my life, kind of got involved with someone I shouldn't have been involved with, and so I ended up failing the class I needed and moving out of state to Portland, Oregon. And in Portland, I also started to do some nursing school classes because they have a really good nursing school out there. Was kind of fooling myself, wasn't really why I was there, and ended up having to come back home with my parents and moved into a very small town called Meeker, Colorado. It's about 2 hours from Steamboat, and it's a very small rural town. So after kind of getting some stuff together in my life, I found the closest school that had a nursing program was a 2-year program, so an associate's degree nursing program in Craig, Colorado. So I went ahead and I applied. I had all my prereqs, regardless of how many different schools I went to. Eventually I had everything that I needed. Went to take the nursing entrance test. I failed the first time because I had to take the T's, and I ended up passing the second time. And so then from the fall of 2009 to spring of 2011, I was in nursing school, and I was in an associate's degree program. After I graduated from my associate's degree program, what you have to do then is you get your degree, but you still have to complete the state boards. So I completed my Colorado State Boards in August of 2011. I passed my first time around, which is called the NCLEX. It's a big test. I'll have more information on that in another video, but I did pass. And so I have been a registered nurse, an RN, since August of 2011. After I got my RN, I started applying for jobs. I was very much against geriatric nursing at the time, which is nursing home nursing. And so I was applying for anything and everything else. And unfortunately, since I lived in a rural town, it was hard to find jobs where I lived. And even though I started looking into places like Denver, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, I was getting passed over for students that had either completed their bachelor's degree, which is a higher degree, or passing over for students that were already living there because I would have to relocate. So I ended up looking for a job for over a year. So I was a nurse for a year, but I haven't been working as a nurse since then. And since I only have my associate's degree program, it's really, really hard as just an associate's degree nurse to get into a hospital. But I finally got my first job working psychiatric nursing down in Pueblo, Colorado. I'm not going to state the name of the institution. Don't want to do any of that. And so I started there. I worked on a very aggressive unit, and as the RN, I did a lot of paperwork. I did less nursing skill work, more psychiatric kind of skill work, which was still beneficial. It was very beneficial job training, but it wasn't something I was looking for. So about 7 months after being a geriatric nurse, I accepted a job at a nursing home, of all things. Didn't think I ever wanted to work in a nursing home, but it was kind of the only place I could find that would accept me with the skills that I had. So I started off working there, and I worked the overnight shift. I worked 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 days a week at a nursing home. And that actually gave me a lot of skills because I was one of the few registered nurses at night. The other types of nurses are licensed practical nurses or licensed vocational nurses, which are LPNs or LVNs. They're still nurses. They're just not considered, I don't know how to say this, they're not considered charge nurses. So honestly, I've worked with a lot of LPNs that have a lot more experience and are probably better nurses than I am, but in the view of just their scope of practice, they're not as high level as I am. Therefore, since I was the only one at nights, I usually had to take over and be a charge nurse at night. So instead of taking care of just the 20 to 30 patients I had, I was in charge of the whole building. So that was a lot of really good experience. We had a state survey come in, and we had a very difficult state survey. And because of that, we had some things happen where nurses were losing hours and everything. So I had a friend from my nursing school who was working at a different long-term care facility that also had a skilled nursing side. And she said they were looking for nurses and they worked 12-hour shifts. And working 12-hour shifts is great because you generally only work 3 days a week. So I went ahead and applied over there. And I got hired, and I still work there today, 2 years later. So, once again, will not state the place I work. I don't want to have anybody have that out in the public, I guess, because I don't want this to fall back and have any sort of negative connotations for my work. So right now, I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. My shifts start at 6 p.m. and they end, they're supposed to end around 6:30 a.m. after I give report, but nursing is such a situation where sometimes it doesn't end that way, and sometimes I leave at 8 or 9 or 10 working 14, 15-hour days. But I figured I'd just let you guys know what I do as a nurse. My nursing job right now, like I said, I work geriatrics, but I also work on the skilled side. And what skilled services mean is basically things like rehabilitation, where someone maybe has gotten a joint replacement, spent some time in the hospital, went to a rehabilitative hospital, and then comes to stay with us for a little bit so that they can get stronger until they can go back home. And then on the other side, I have basic geriatric nursing or long-term care nursing, just for elderly people that need some help on everyday tasks, and they pretty much will stay with us until it is their time to pass away. And so I also still work night shifts there. I've always kind of been a night shift nurse. I really enjoy night shift nursing, not only because of the hours, but because I have to be a little bit more independent. So if you're looking into nursing and you feel like you're strong and you don't necessarily want to have administration or bosses around you all the time, night shift nursing is a great way to go. However, the challenge with night shift nursing is everybody, including administrators, bosses, doctors, they're all asleep. So you have to learn how to manage some patient care situations and know when it is necessary to wake up these physicians to say, hey, something's going on, I need to get this taken care of. Additionally, there is less staff at night. For right now at my facility at night, I have myself and another nurse, and then I have 2 CNAs on my hall. I have one CNA on another hall and one CNA on a different hall. And at 10 p.m., which is almost about halfway through my shift, I take over the other side. So when I come in at 6, I take care of my skilled people side. And like I said, those people can include knee replacements, anybody with wounds that need assistance with, kind of the more skilled people. So I could have IVs running, PICC lines going, all of those things. If you don't know what those things are, that'll be another video to explain, because I'm hoping that if you're watching this, you're either a nurse or you're thinking about becoming a nurse. So I take care of those, and pretty much right away I get reports. I write down kind of what's important, what's not important, things I need to know, kind of try to prioritize my day, saying, you know, if this person's really, really sick or has come down with something, obviously they're going to be one of my top priorities for me to keep an eye on. And just kind of going through my day, talking, and we don't only talk about physical stuff, there's some emotional stuff too. I mean, if a patient of mine has some serious issues going on with a family member or a husband or, you know, a child, that's going to affect their emotional well-being, and I need to be sensitive to that. Not necessarily meaning that I have to inquire about that, because it's not necessarily my business, but it is something I need to keep in my head and be aware of. So after I get report, and I write down what I need to do, I count my meds with my nurse, and that's counting the narcotics, making sure that those are on count. Hopefully they are. If not, then we have to kind of figure out where the error is, because narcotics are a major thing that has to be, you know, completely documented, and the count has to be right. And then after I accept the cart, then those patients are all mine. And then basically what I do is I start getting the vitals that I need, seeing kind of how the CNAs are doing, I usually come in right at the end or start of dinner, making sure people are getting dinner trays and that dinner trays are getting picked up and those sort of things. And then I also start my medication pass. And on my 8 o'clock medication pass, I pass to about 21 or 22 people, and it sounds like a lot, and it is. So it really, really takes a lot of prioritization and assistance. Luckily, I have some great CNAs I work with, and they kind of try to keep things running while I get those meds out to people, because the sooner people get their medications, the happier they usually are. And that's kind of what they're expecting at night. That's what they're expecting me to do. And so throughout that, while I'm giving medicines, you know, I might go give medicine to someone, and at the same time I'm assessing their vitals, I'm assessing any dressing changes, any skin issues, anything like that, addressing any concerns that they have from the day, and trying to get my meds done on time. Most of my medications are due at 8 p.m. And like I said, I come in at 6. My report takes till about 6:30. So I'm usually on the cart ready to go by 6:45. So in that 15-minute window, I have time to assist residents to their rooms if they need assistance, taking some vitals, especially if I give some blood pressure medications. That's a big thing I take vitals on. And then I kind of just start passing meds as fast as I can so that I'm available for other needs. When you're passing medications in the geriatric setting, it's kind of different than in the hospital, because these patients are usually there for a lot longer, so I know who they are. I kind of know what their meds are. So there's not so much of the whole, you know, check the right patient, right med, all that. We do that, but it's much more efficient because we already know the people. So I'm getting my meds done. Hopefully I get done. I have until, since they're due at 8, I can start at 7, and I have to end by 9. So hopefully all my meds are done by 9. Usually, on a good day, I have my meds done by 8:15 to 8:30. Usually, once again, I do a quick walkthrough of all my residents, making sure there's nothing else that they need from me. And sometimes I get caught up because there are some residents that do wait to talk to me about special issues or concerns that they have. And I will assess and decide, okay, you know, this is a situation where, you know, we need to call the doctor, and we need to call the doctor now. And then I make those phone calls. Or it's something where, okay, well, we will reassess that in the morning. I'll let your day shift nurse know, or your doc's going to be coming in tomorrow to come look at you. So I'll make sure that he's aware that this is a situation. And between all of this, I'm doing some paperwork. Like I said, paperwork, I have to sign out all my medicines and everything that I do. At 10 o'clock, I end up taking over another side of the hall. That side of the hall has long-term care patients only. So they're basically, like I said, people that are there for long-term care, that just need help with everyday lives. And so the nurse over there works from 2 to 10. And at 10 p.m. she gives me reports. So I have a whole nother set of report I do around 9:45, 10 o'clock. I count a whole nother set of narcotics on a different cart. And then by about 10:15, 10:20, I am responsible for that side of the hall as well. So starting from about 10:30, we'll say 10:30 on, I am responsible for about 38 to 40 patients, all just for me. Since I am usually the only RN there at night, I'm considered a charge RN for right now until they designate a different person to be a charge. But being charge means that I'm responsible for kind of the whole building. So even though I have an LPN and I have CNAs that take care of everything, they're all working underneath my registered nurse license. So me, as having that situation, is I tend to walk around the building after I get report and count my meds and make sure that there's no incidents that I need to be aware of, that my other nurse is doing okay, that my CNAs on my halls are doing okay, everyone's showing up for work and I don't have to try to find coverage, those sort of things. And then throughout the night, if there is someone who's calling off for day shift, they'll call off to me, and then I need to try to find arrangements to cover their shift. And if I can't find coverage, I let my on-call manager know, and then I try to look at the schedule and see if I can switch around a few people. Because unfortunately that does happen, but you know, people get sick and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not their fault. So from 10:30 on, you would think that people would sleep, and they don't. So I have medicines that are due at midnight, at 2, at 4, and at 6 a.m. And 6 a.m., obviously, since my next nurse comes in at 6 a.m., I try to get all those meds done by 5:45 in the morning. It's unfortunate I have to wake people up, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles right now. That's the way our meds work. And then, of course, throughout the night, I'm there for patients that need PRN medications, which are as-needed medications, and that's usually pain medicine. So even though it doesn't look like I have to give patient care all through the night, I end up doing so. I usually give, on average, 20 to 30 pain medicine PRNs a night, if not more, and that includes me having to document those in the computer, saying I gave it, documenting that on the NARC sheet so the NARC count is correct, and doing all those sorts of things. The other thing I do as a night nurse is I accept the medications from pharmacy, because we get our meds delivered from Denver. They get delivered to us from people, and so I have to bring those medicines in, make sure that they're correct, and then I count those in. If I did not receive medicines that I expected to receive, then I need to call pharmacy and figure out what the heck is going on, and if we need a script, then I need to see if either pharmacy can contact the doctor or if that's something that can wait till day shift. So being a night shift RN requires a lot of prioritization, a lot of organization, and a lot of stuff to remember in your head, because by the time that day shift comes in to take over, honestly, I'm quite exhausted. So I have to try to remember everything I need to tell them to make their day a little easier. So that way, say somebody, you know, A, B, and C need medicine, and they need a script for it, I want to be able to tell the day shift nurse, hey, when you call pharmacy today, can you call about these meds, and keep that, you know, for them so they have a better day. The other thing that we do as night shift nurses, we do a lot of different types of paperwork. We check orders throughout the whole night. We do a little bit of cleaning and organization if we have time. I try to make sure that the charts look okay, so like if labs were, you know, called in, but they didn't get filed, I try to file stuff in the charts, because if we get behind on that, the doctors get upset, and you don't want your doctors upset. So that's what we try to do. So that's the basics of what I do as a nurse. Would like to say that, like I said, I never wanted to be a geriatric nurse. I do find some pleasure in it now. There's certain things I love about it and certain things I hate about it. And the things that I love about it is, you know, when I come to work, unlike a hospital setting where I might get new patients every day, I am working with pretty much the same crowd of people. I have new patients every now and again, but I'm pretty comfortable and I have a relationship with the patients that I have. That can also be a negative, because, you know, if something upset somebody the night before, regardless of whether it was something that was done personally by me or something I could control, they tend to remember that, and then I tend to hear about that over and over and over. And that can be a little frustrating, especially when it has to do with something like I don't like the food here. I can put in requests for food, but I'm not part of the kitchen, and I'm not even really there when they're making food. So I'm not the person that can technically fix that. I can bring it up to management, but that's not something that I can just fix right then. And that can frustrate a few of my residents, which is unfortunate because it's not something I can fix. So I wanted to that's kind of my day in the life. Like I said, different things happen. And when different things happen, I have to react to those. Luckily, I have a great crew of people. So when I have an emergency, I grab my other nurse and we're good to go. Emergencies are things that aren't just somebody who codes. And when I say code, I mean someone whose heartbeat stops and that we have to perform CPR on, which is, you've all probably heard of CPR. It's basic first aid CPR. That's the highest level of emergency for us, but other emergencies include falls, high temperatures, behaviors. We have, unfortunately, in the geriatric population, we have a growing number of dementia and Alzheimer's, and those two are different diseases. Dementia is just kind of a normal progression of brain kind of shrinkage develop as you get older. Your brain just doesn't function as well. That's what dementia is, and that's a normal aspect of aging. Alzheimer's is an actual brain disease where the brain starts to shrink, either prematurely or just severely so, and that can cause a lot of dementia. It can cause a lot of behaviors. It can cause a lot of confusion, can cause a lot of agitation. I've had patients grab me and bruise me all the way up and down my arm because there's nothing I can do about it. And, unfortunately, you're trying to keep yourself safe and your aide safe and them safe. And that can be something hard that can be done, especially when, you don't have necessarily the medicine that might be the best, because in geriatric nursing, we don't give, intramuscular injections of medicine. So like on TV shows that you'll see, like ER or Grey's Anatomy, if somebody's getting belligerent, they might say, oh, let's give them some IM Haldol. That's not real life. That's not what we can do. Some places can do that, hospitals and psychiatric hospitals in general, but in geriatric, we're not allowed to. It's not part of what we believe in doing. So we have to use a whole modality of different, interventions to manage that, and that's usually more like redirection, one-to-one, some distraction techniques, and all those things take time. So if I have a patient that has dementia that is having an episode of agitation, in order to keep them safe, it might require that I, as the nurse, either do the one-to-one with them, which can take 25, 30, 45 minutes, in the hopes that they'll calm down. Sometimes they don't react well to me, and it might be based on my stature, based on the fact that I'm a woman. It could be all sorts of different things. And so then sometimes, luckily, I have an aide, CNA, that is wonderful with those kind of patients, but that takes them off the floor. That takes them away from the other patient care. And as the nurse, then I need to be able to step up and say, okay, I can take care of your patients. Let me change them. Let me answer the call lights. Let me do that. As a nurse, it doesn't matter. Nurse, CNA, we all answer call lights. We all should answer call lights. Nursing has a lot of other work to do, but our patients come first. And so then the other thing I do on nights is just a lot of documentation. I chart a lot, because I see a lot of behavior. So it's true that some patients that are beautiful and wonderful and nice and, no problems, and they're just the sweetest lady, could turn into almost a gremlin at night, and they are actively angry, agitated, all the time. And that has to do with that dementia. It's called sundowners that happens. And so sometimes I have a whole different interaction with that patient than somebody else on my day shift crew will. And the only way that I can say that those things happen is to chart it. And to chart it, I have to be very, very, very thorough in my documentation, and that takes a while. It takes a while to get that done completely and fully. Not only do we have regular charting, but in any hospital you have different types of assessments you have to do on certain times on certain residents, and those take a while too. And you want those to be accurate as well, because that all kind of comes back to how we get paid, or how the nursing home gets paid, and that affects us as well because it affects how we get paid. Not saying that I don't ever get paid like on compensation. I get paid a straight hourly wage, but in order to be able to justify having more staff to handle these behaviors that we see, we need to be able to document fully to those kind of behaviors to justify the fact that we do need more staff. And so that is one vital important thing that I have to do every day, and sometimes it doesn't get done. We always have a kind of a how do I say this? A focus on no overtime. It's really hard to do that as a nurse because, like I said, there are times I have to drop everything. I can't say really what happened, but about 2 weeks ago I had a situation occur that basically took 4 or 5 hours of my time after 11 o'clock to kind of get under control and get stable. Obviously during that time I still had to pass meds here and there, but nothing else got done. And so then it was a choice between, do I just try to back chart when I come back in the next day, or do I stay late and chart? And, I had to kind of go to my DON and ask her what she wanted, and the answer was, yeah, if you can try to back chart, which is always the catch-22, because when you try to come in and back chart and then something else happens, and you just keep getting further behind. So what I will say about geriatric nursing is it's a pleasure and it's a pain, but I think that is anything in nursing. There's been a lot of talk since whatever happened on The View about the stethoscope and the Miss America contest and, what opinions were voiced on The View. I'm not going to go into great detail on that. I did go into great detail on my Facebook page. But basically what I will say on this is The View had their opinion, and whether they were joking or not, I think nurses around the world found it very offensive, and I do not believe the apology that I saw was heartfelt, and I feel like they shouldn't have said anything. And that's kind of how I feel about nursing in general. If you're not a nurse and you're watching this, no offense, but you need to treat your nurses with respect. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that as nurses, regardless of whether we have an associate's degree, regardless of whether we only have a certificate because we're an LPN and we went through basically the first year of the associate's program or not, regardless of the level of nursing degreeness, I should say, that we are all nurses. And I am trained to save your life. I am trained to save your life. I have performed that in different aspects. I've had to do it, see a car accident happen right in front of me and have to jump out and help and be there. And I know that because I was there, someone's life was saved, and that's something that I get to take home with me. But that's not something that you, as a non-nurse, get to take away from me. I would like to say that when you're in the hospital, kind of keep in mind that the nurses that you're working with are working hard. Physicians, we need them. And I work with some great physicians. But we are the eyes and ears of the physicians. Without us, your physician's not going to know what's going on. And it makes sense. Because if you think about it, the most time that you see with your doctor is probably 10 to 15 minutes. Even when you're having surgery. I had gallbladder surgery in November. I saw my doctor before my surgery to get approved for surgery, and that was about a 5-minute visit. I saw my surgeon right directly before the surgery. That was about a, 5-minute thing. When I got out of surgery, I did not see my doctor again until my follow-up a week later, which was another 5-minute meeting. So if you think about it, that's about 15 minutes I've seen this guy who invaded my body and took a part of my body out. The people that were there were the nurses, and those nurses are there to watch you and to assess you and to be ready for you. Because trust me, if your heart were to stop right now, regardless of whether you're in a hospital, in a nursing home, wherever, that nurse is going to save you. That nurse is going to be the person that's going to have the first hands on, and they're going to be the ones that save you. We're not going to call a code and say, hey, this person's code blew in and we need to do CPR, but let's wait for the doctor to come in because our doctors are at home. Even if you're in a hospital, doctors may be on call, but they're sleeping in their on-call rooms. Nurses, we don't have on-call rooms. We don't get to sleep. Physicians, yes, they can work for 36 to 48 hours straight, 96 hours straight. I've heard of it. I get why they get their on-call rooms. Me, as a 12-hour night nurse, I don't get to sleep. I don't get to stop. Since I'm the only RN on my floor, I don't get to eat a lunch. I can eat lunch as I go, but I don't get a lunch break. I can tell you quite frankly, maybe it's a little bit too much information, but in a 12-hour shift, 15-hour shift, 16-hour shift, I may pee once. Just once. Until I get home. Because that's how much my patients need. And sometimes it's not because anything crazy is going on, it's just that I need to make sure that all my patients are okay, even if they're just sleeping. And I guess I wanted to tell you this because I don't believe that unless you are a nurse, married to a nurse, have a friend as a nurse, even if you are one of those three, you don't quite understand what nurses do. The only people that understand what nurses do are nurses and our CNAs. I include CNAs in this because the CNAs are our eyes and ears. I have had residents that treat CNAs very poorly, but treat me very nicely. And I try to quickly and professionally dissuade them from doing so. Because like I said, my CNAs are my eyes and my ears. I cannot be everywhere. I cannot do the full care that they can do. I have CNAs right now that will tell me, please don't change a diaper because you suck at it. So they're the ones that will tell me, hey, this person, is developing something, or this person's skin looks a little weird, or, hey, this person's acting a little bit more funny than they usually do. Maybe you should look at them. And I listen to that, and I respect that, because regardless of whether they have a degree or not, because CNAs are usually certificate, and they are also licensed, they are licensed professionals, a lot of them have been doing this for a very long time. And they know their stuff, and I trust them to know their stuff. So when you're in a hospital setting, if you're just a non-healthcare professional looking into this, treat everyone there with respect. Treat your nurses with respect. Treat your aides with respect. And please learn to, I guess, you should expect the best care. You deserve the best care as that patient. But if you're clicking your light 5 different times because you can't figure out your TV remote, put that into perspective on maybe, while your nurse might come in and do that for you every time, they might be dealing with a patient who is dying, or they might be dealing with, a patient that is very sick on the edge of dying, or they're dealing with a patient with hospice that has family there and it is their end moments of their life. And while you do deserve to have the same care, what is, I want my TV screen to work, important into that aspect. And that way, if you're getting angry because your nurse won't come in and fix your TV right away, maybe take a deep breath and realize that there's a whole lot of things going on that we don't talk about, and that we shouldn't talk about. I have a lot of stuff that goes on at my job that I don't talk to my husband about. I talk to my other nurses about sometimes. And there are just some things that are too hard to talk about. I would like to let people know that we do try to leave things at the door. But there are times where it's hard to leave work at work. And it usually has to do with patients that kind of get, not under our skin, but emotionally we get attached. And we have to deal a lot with death and dying, and dealing with the fact that, we're trying to figure out how to best care for someone who is in so much pain. That we cannot control, and there's not much we can do. A lot of us nurses go into nursing to help, to heal. That's our basic motto. We're there to heal, and sometimes you can't. And so I would like, I guess, people to know that nurses are professionals. We are healthcare professionals. We are people. And unlike physicians, the biggest difference is physicians are there to cure. They're there to diagnose, figure out what's wrong with you, and cure you. Get you antibiotics or whatever you need to make you better, and then send you home. And then us nurses, we're really there to heal the whole person. So we're there to, give you those medicines you need, give you those treatments, but also ask, how are you doing? How's your home life? How are you feeling today? And we really try to handle all aspects of a person. And so that can be very draining. In no way does that mean that you should not ask your nurse for anything. I don't want to put that out there. I just want to let you know that that's kind of what's going on in our heads. And so if you're thinking about being a nurse, if you are a nurse, you gotta have some skills. You gotta have some communication skills with patients. You have to have some organization skills. There's a couple different paths you can take. Right now, like I said, I'm an associate degree nurse. I am in my final 3 weeks of my bachelor degree program. So in about second week in May, third week in May, I'll be a bachelor degree nurse, which will give me opportunities to go into the hospital, which I might take advantage of, because as much as I have come to love geriatric nursing, it is very exhausting. And there is such thing as what's called nursing burnout, and it's a true thing. And so I guess this is mostly for nurses or people thinking about becoming nurses and how a nurse's day works. It's exhausting. Luckily, I work 3 days in a row right now. My shifts are about to change to 8-hour shifts. So that's going to be a whole nother thing. But when you work nights, your 3 days working are pretty much sleep and work and eat. And My husband works different hours than I do. Sometimes he works nights, but sometimes he works days. So literally, we usually have about 3 or 4 days where we don't see each other at all, and that can be tough too. And there are days where I can't leave work at work, and it affects my home life because I'm very, very worried about, a particular patient or resident. And actually, right now, we have something going on at work right now that is concerning me about a particular resident, and I can't let go of it, and I can't do anything about it either. So I just try to keep it in the back of my mind, and I hope and I pray, and I wait to see what happens when I go back to work tomorrow, which will be Tuesday. Today was a clinical day. Today was a school day. So I decided, since it was a school day, I wanted to kind of introduce the whole nursing aspect to the YouTube, because all we've done so far are some jewelry candle reveals, and we are going to have more of those, but there is more to do. And since I'm the nurse of the family, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what a day in the life of a nurse is. And if I could take you guys around and have you follow me and watch me do what I do, I would love to, but I can't. But if you are a nursing student right now, I will tell you that I'm gonna have several videos, but what you're gonna learn in school is very, very important. And that's the other thing. Nurses have a wider range of information. We're very knowledgeable about the human body in more ways than you would think. We've probably seen a lot of things that you would not want to see. But if you're in nursing school right now, you probably already know it's one of the hardest things you will ever do. I have said, and I don't have children, I'm sure it's not harder than childbirth, I'm not saying that, but in the aspect of my 28 years on life thus far, nursing school was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, and this last semester of nursing school is killing me. It's hard, but it's fulfilling. But you have to also kind of, when you get into nursing, you have to realize very quickly that you don't know everything. The one thing that I do enjoy a lot about nursing is I always learn something new. It's either from something I read or another nurse that teaches me something. I always learn something. So if you're a new nurse or about to graduate, just realize when you are going into the workforce that your book knowledge, like, whew, pass an NCLEX, I know all this stuff, is not as much as this. This is where your real life nurse knowledge is, and you need to get to that point. Real life nurse knowledge is a lot different than book smart. You need the book stuff. It'll definitely help you along the way, but you're going to learn a lot in your first year as a nurse, because there's a lot to learn, and there's still a lot to learn. So I would just like to say that in the nursing playlist that I'm going to create, we're going to have a whole bunch of fun stuff. So that way, like I said, now you know a little bit about what I do, kind of where I'm going. Like I said, mostly skilled and geriatric. Might be moving into some other fields here pretty soon, but I'm going to let you know when that happens. But what we're going to have, some ideas I've had for this playlist is what's in my nursing bag. I actually have been watching a lot of videos about moms and they always do, what's in my baby bag? Well, I'm going to do what's in my nursing bag, because I know as a nursing student, you do a lot of stuff. You carry a lot of stuff, and when you're a real nurse, you realize what you actually really need. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do something on NCLEX and some study tips for the NCLEX for that. I'm going to do something over brain. If you're a nursing student, you completely know what that is, but that's a report sheet, and how I organize my report sheet. I'll make up a fake one with fake names, and how it helps me organize my day. Might go over some stethoscope stuff, because you want to have a really good stethoscope, and a good stethoscope's going to cost you over $100. Let's just put it out there, it's going to happen. I'm going to have another one about just what to do as a new nurse. Just the new nurse blog, that's what I'm going to call it, something like that. What you need to know. I don't know, what else could I do? There's a whole bunch of nursing ones I want to do. Less educational, more just talking about being a nurse, because I think that's important. Probably go over some scrub wear, what cool scrubs you can wear, how to eat on the go, maybe some good meals for, quick lunches, what to expect as a nurse, as a brand new nurse, and I am going to do a very special vlog soon here, talking about the difference of an RN, LPN, CNA, because those are the 3 people you'll see most in the hospital, and I think that will be beneficial for everybody, because we have all different levels of scopes of practice, but we are all there to take care of people, and that's what's important. And so yeah, I'm just gonna have a lot of hopefully cool little videos on what a nurse is, how to be a nurse, and if I ever find out something where it's like this is something crazy and I didn't know about this, or I'll even share my mess up stories. I'll get a list of kind of changing names, changing situations, but can maybe have a good one of talking about patients that have affected me, both positively and negatively, because you learn from everything. You learn from everything, and I'm excited to almost be done with school, and I'm excited to start putting a nursing thing on here, because even though I willy wally, and right now I do feel like I need a break from nursing. Like I said, nursing burnout is a real thing, and it's not just stress. Nursing burnout has a lot more to do with kind of hating life and having that affect your life, and kind of really not liking nursing in general. And I've kind of been to that point. I don't know if it's the facility I work at. I don't know if it's because I'm in school. I don't know if it's a combination of things. But most nurses do at some point in their career take a break. And when I say take a break, they might go work at retail for a little while just to get a little bit of a break. I'm lucky enough that I could do that right now since I'm married and my husband does make sufficient of money for us to live on one income, but I'm not ready to give up yet. I just gotta find the right area, and I don't know what that is. I thought I did, and then I didn't, so. But anyways, I hope this was interesting, at least a little bit, and I hope that I get some more people to tune in on at least the nursing part. I think I have a lot of good suggestions, especially if you're a new nurse about to go into your first job. It wasn't that long ago that I was, and now a lot of people look up to me at work for certain different things. Not everyone, but I know that some of my newer nurses are like, man, I wish someone had told me what you just told me. So I'm going to hopefully have some information out there for you new nurses, so that we can have a successful new generation of nurses, because the nursing shortage is real, and we need more nurses, or us old nurses are going to get overworked, and you're not going to have nurses to take care of you. And as a patient, if you're not into nursing, you just wanted to watch this to see what the heck this was about, please, please, please remember to respect your nurses, because we are healthcare professionals. We are not servants. We are not there to scratch your feet. We are there to take care of you. We are capable of taking care of you, and we are your communication line for your doctor. And what you don't see a lot of time is us advocating for you. One of our biggest job requirements, what is in our oath, because yes, we do take an oath as well. It's called the Florence Nightingale Oath. We take that. It's a requirement to become a nurse. And part of that oath is to be an advocate for all our patients. So while you want more pain meds and your doctor's not giving you pain meds, don't think that there isn't a nurse behind that doctor saying, I think he needs more pain meds and this is why. And it's not just that he's driving me crazy being on his light. It's, this is what I'm seeing, and I am advocating for this patient to have more pain medicine or whatever it is. And sometimes what you really don't see is your physician may say, no, I don't agree with that. And if we strongly agree, we will go above them, because we can go above doctors to bigger doctors. And we do that sometimes. And we do it all without expecting a thank you or a please. It's part of our job. It's part of what we do. We enjoy thank you or a please. It goes a long way for us, but we don't expect it. And I think I said in my Facebook post when I was talking about the View that a please and a thank you go a long way. But regardless of how you treat us, we're going to treat you the same, and we're going to give you the best care possible. But I would like to end this by saying it is now a federal offense to assault in any way a nurse, which means that just being misdemeanor assault is no longer true. It will be a felony assault. So if I am taking care of you and I am your nurse and you choose to smack me in the face and you are fully cognizant of what you are doing, you could be going to federal prison for that. And I think that is right, and I think they should include that with CNAs as well, because we do take a lot of aggression, and it's something that's not really talked about a lot, but should be. And I'm not talking about my dementia patients or my patients with Alzheimer's or even my mental illness patients that sometimes can't control themselves. I'm talking about your regular grandma, grandpa sometimes are not very nice people to the nurses taking care of them. And so just be cognizant of that, and please never raise your hand to a nurse. And like I said, please and thank you are great, but we'll do our job without it. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this post. Like I said, lots more nursing stuff to come, because even though I willywag on whether I want to be a nurse, it is a passion of mine. I respect nurses. I think we are all hardworking, great people, and you never know it. A nurse might save your life one day, and that nurse might not be in her scrubs. She might be in the car behind you when you get into a car accident, and she'll come jump out and she'll come help you, because that's what we do. We do it on the clock, off the clock, unpaid, fully paid. We just do it because that's the kind of people we are. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Talk to you soon. And like I said, lots more to come. And if you have any questions or any suggestions on videos you'd like me to do, please feel free to put them in the comments below. Thanks. Bye.